I have the urge to say something about the SpookyLoopz video. The behavior I'm starting to vary is the title of it, and in this video he's somewhat saying that the night was very underwhelming. The night chapter in general was very underwhelming. We look at the perks, we have one perk that is actually good with nowhere to hide. The other perks are just either too situational or not good at all. Looking at you, Quick Gambit, you are absolutely trash. And then he was someone saying that the playstyle of the Knight was also very, very underwhelming, which is true, because the Knight is a zoning killer, and he somewhat feels, in a sense, a bit like the Clown with a little extra to it. And I see that. Playing the Clown isn't really fun, because it's just a repetitive thing you have to do. You throw bottles at the opponents and blah 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 blah, and it just feels like so It's the same with the Doctor, for example. You just shock and shock and shock and shock, and it's just so boring to play as, and it's very, very boring and frustrating even to play against. And I feel like with the Knight we roughly encounter the same. Then we look at a chapter, then we look at the buff that he has received, and he is still just and there's nothing else to add. This also shows in his pick rates, because he wasn't even inside the top 5 when it came to pick rate numbers, which is absurd. Which is absolutely absurd. If we just go back and think about Wesker, for example. Wesker at one point was at a 19% pick rate. Every 5th killer player decided to play Wesker because he was not only strong, but also immensely fun. Just want to throw it out there, but Wesker's release has really changed the way we look at DBD right in this moment. And this is a thing that I have said roughly 1.5 months ago with my video DBD'S 2022 was trash. Where I was kind of like saying that we can't get fooled by the Wesker chapter. We can't get fooled by the Project W chapter. The chapter in itself was awesome. And I don't need to say anything about it because you have all experienced it and if you all played it. But if we ignore this chapter for 1 second, nothing has changed at all when it comes to Dead by Daylight within the last year. And SpookyLoopz is making an observation that this right now is a very, very critical time for the game. The Skull Merchant will release soon, and I've only experienced for roughly 2 hours on this killer. You know, you don't have seen much on my channel because I've decided to not produce PTB content anymore unless it's something that I really, really am excited about. But the Skull Merchant, her playstyle, and the fact that she is another zoning killer, another territorial killer, like, because we like the hack so much, that's why we need another territorial killer. Absolutely. I mean, let us ignore the fact that the hack is like the second least played killer for ages at this point. And I even think the hack would be the least played killer if it wasn't for the twins being such a meme. I have bounced back on my opinion for the twins, a bunch of times, right? A bunch of freaking times. And I only think at this moment that the twins are only the least played killer because they are a meme. You know, it is in their lore that they are neglected to absolute absurdity. And I feel like this is exactly the way for the twins in the future. But I completely digress here. We look at the Skull Merchant, we look at what she can do, and now we even see buffs that have been leaked to her. And in the end, it doesn't matter how they buff the Skull Merchant because the playstyle in itself stays the same. Yeah, like you can change her and tweak her around her power and basically decide to buff her accordingly, but what will that change? I doubt it will change much. As I was mentioning in my video earlier, I was having the same opinion 1.5 months ago, right? I was saying like, hey, we're one bad chapter away from losing a big chunk of players. Because checking out events every now and then, releasing killers with perks and survivors is not the definition of good content. What we need is to break the stigma and is to actually tweak the core gameplay, because this is what we absolutely need. Hiding inside a snowman is the equivalent of hiding inside a locker. So adding another locker location to the map isn't what an event should be. And I'm absolutely serious about this. And when we look at a chapter shouldn't be a new map, a new killer, and a new survivor, because this gets redundant and boring. I also, in my video, made the comparison to Apex Legends because there were so many similarities there. So many. And I feel like Respawn, the developers of Apex, actually watched my video because they did exactly what I was saying they should do. They stopped chucking out content that is the same, like a new legend each season, but they decided to tweak the core gameplay and the core feel to create a feeling of refreshing. They haven't done much. They have just rearranged the classes. They've given all classes definitive powers and own powers and unique powers. Then they have added bubbleheads to every map, Mirage Voyage to every map, which is just a very small POI, and they added a new gun. These are the main things they have done for the new season. And if you now think about this, in comparison to a new map, a new killer, this is not much. This is absolutely not much. And if you now say, oh yeah, but they added a whole POI to every map, it is the same POI that has already existed in the game and they took it away. You know what I'm saying here? And what is the result out of tweaking the core gameplay and the core feel of the game? Right, a new record in player numbers. The new season has reached heights none season has reached before. Okay, except apart from the release, but it was, you know, filled with many streamers playing it. Even Ninja played it at one point. Weird to think that he still plays Fortnite, but anyways, I digress. And we need the same in Dead by Daylight. We don't need another Twisted Masquerade event where we, you know, have to just do the same stuff as last year. Getting rift points in order to put them into black holes. You see something in the background there. It's just boring and redundant. It's a thing you have to do extra and actually doesn't do anything to the core gameplay, because the core gameplay still stays the absolute same. I was arguing about bringing out a rank mode because I am a whole ambassador for that, because I just want them to release a rank mode to not only give players that want to try hard as much a room to actually do that, but also it would somewhat separate the core and the core from the casual player base, which I think would be an awesome idea for the game. But what I wanted to say ultimately is that I just wanted to raise awareness for this problem. And SpookyLoopz has done a video, but I have done a video as well 1.5 months ago where I somewhat came up with the same opinion, but just had something on top that SpookyLoopz didn't really cover, in my opinion. Both of those videos are linked down in the description, and if you want to watch them, then you should definitely be advised to do that, because both of those videos are awesome. SpookyLoopz video is obviously very good, and also that he's a fog whisperer adds some more value to what he is saying, because his voice will be heard. There is no argument about it. His voice will absolutely be heard, and hopefully Behavior listens and gives us something truly exciting the next time around. And even if that means that we don't get a killer the next time around because they need to tweak the game in a good and fun way, then I am absolutely fine with that. We don't need a killer every 3 months. We don't need 2 survivors every 3 months. But what we need is a shake-up to the core. My name is Modern Agony, and thanks for listening, boys.